Hey everybody, Tracy Monty Smith with SE Coaching. Welcome to another one of our video sessions. I love that you guys are tuning in to see this every single week. I also want to point out that if you don't want to sit and watch me, that's cool. Pop those earbuds in, take me for a walk while you're walking your dog or driving the car. I personally like to listen to this stuff when I'm cleaning horse pens and feeding in the mornings. It's just kind of my time to check in with all of the things that I want to start to learn for the day or for the week. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to our sponsor, Greg Bobby with Total Symmetry Personal Training. I've been working with Greg for almost 2 months now. I am loving it. I love working virtually with him because it means I can do this whenever I want to on my time schedule. I don't have to make an appointment, get in the car, drive into town, have my workout, get back in the car and drive back home. I am in total control of when I do my workout. But I still have all that accountability that we like to have with a personal trainer. I still check in with Greg at least once a week via email. And a lot of times we are in contact with each other additionally through the week as we are seeing each other in some various business meetings that we're in. But if you want to change your life, if you want to start working out but you don't want to go to a gym, I highly recommend you contact Greg at totalsymmetry@gmail.com. Get a workout going with Greg. He's fantastic and you will love every minute of it. So what I really wanted to get into talking about today is I actually am going to share a coaching session that I was privileged enough to witness with one of my clients. And it was, as all of the horse sessions are, it just had that little touch of magicalness in it. It was beautiful to witness. I realize that in the telling of it, you guys aren't going to really be able to experience the full magic of what happened, but oh man, this was really cool and I just really wanted to share it with you. And I do have the client's permission, although I won't be using her name. Thank you very much for giving me permission to share this. So before we start out talking about the coaching session, I want to lay a little framework. So I do have 4 horses, as I've mentioned in the past. I have Merlin, Simon, Ellie, and Peaches that are in my coaching program, and we currently board at a stable. And within the stable, you get to know all of the other owners and all of the other boarders. And I had one of the boarders approach me and ask me if I would be interested in using her retired barrel racing horse, Twister, in my coaching program because she had been kind of watching and hearing me talk about it. And she said, you know what, I think he would really like to have a job to do this. And I really think that he would be really good at it. I was really excited. I could hardly say the word yes fast enough because I had spent some time with Twister and he would be absolutely perfect for this program. So I decided to go ahead and start to work him into my coaching sessions with my private coaching clients. And he has worked out beyond my wildest dreams. And he just really has taken to this work and he is fantastic. So I actually am going to tell this story about Twister's first coaching experience with one of my clients. So I chose this particular client for Twister to work with first because she does have some experience in working with the horses and understanding how it all fits together, the coaching session and adding the horses into that session. So we always start out a session with a little sit down face-to-face. We do a check-in. Was there something in particular that you really want to work on? And this particular client I hadn't seen for a few months and she came back to spend some time with me. And so there was a lot of stuff that we were talking about and a lot of stuff going on. And we were talking a lot about her lion heart. And what that is that her stepping into her own power, drawing boundaries, just becoming a stronger woman in her world. And she was really excited about taking this concept into the horses and starting that, see where that session was going to go and see what that messaging was going to be for her, because she was really excited and feeling like she'd really done a lot of work in the last few months of stepping into that lion heart, and she absolutely had. So we chose to go ahead and start Twister and she went into the pen with Twister. Now, Twister is 27 years old, 27 or 28. He just had his birthday. I think he might be 28, but I'm not positive on that. But is probably one of the sweetest horses I've ever been around. And my client went into the pen, and she stood in the middle of the pen, which is usually what we encourage someone to do, especially when they're meeting a horse for the first time, and give the horse that time to connect with the client and to see where they want to take this interaction. So my client stood there, and she was just very open-hearted, and Twister came right up to her and started to lick her. And it was in the kind of a colder season, so she had on her big puffy coat and she was all zipped up, and he started licking the front of her coat, just these big slurpy licks. And I've been around Twister for a little, almost 2 years now, about a year and a half, going on 2 years, and I have never ever seen him lick someone like that. These big sloppy slurpy licks all up and down the front of her coat. And my client just kind of stood there, and she was like, oh my gosh, what is this big, huge animal doing, right? And I let it go on for a few seconds, and I finally stepped around and I said, is he in your space? And she kind of looks over at me and really hesitantly goes, yes. And I said, why are you letting him? And I really don't know how to describe this other than I could see her whole demeanor change. It was like this invisible thing just like boom, just slammed down over her, and everything changed. And she took a step back and she put her hand out to Twister, and he just stopped. He stopped licking her. He just stood there, and she continued to interact with him, and she'd stroke his nose and his forehead and step around and stroke his neck. And the horse never moved a muscle. Did not move a muscle around this. If you can hear pounding and pitter-pattering in the background, it is Josie. Most of you have met Josie at one time or another, but she is having a great time playing with her toys. So just thought I'd throw that in there. That's what the interruption is. But back to my client. So she continued in her session, and then at the end of a horse session, which only lasts like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, it's not very long usually, she came out, and we always do kind of a talk debrief about what was going on and what they noticed and what was happening in that session with the horses. And I asked my client, I said, what was going on in there? And what happened when all of this was going on? And this particular client, that when we were working before, we had done a lot of work around boundaries, and we talked about boundaries. And she told me that as soon as she stepped back and set that boundary, that interaction with him was so much more enjoyable, that it was just, he wasn't pushing in at her. And I have to ask this, because I always do. I said, well, where is this showing up in other parts of your life, in other areas of your life? And actually, let me go back. I didn't ask that first. I said, what were you thinking when you were doing this? I mean, why were you allowing him to do this? And she said, I just wanted to see if he would take control. And that's when I asked her, I said, okay, so where is this kind of interaction showing up in other areas of your life? And all of a sudden her eyes just lit up, and she looked at me and she said, I do this all the time when I'm meeting new people. I wait to see if they're going to take control. And control of the conversation, control of what we do, control of decisions that might be made, anything like that. And she found it really interesting to become aware of how that was happening in her life and how she was not setting these boundaries. She was waiting for other people to tell her what to do, waiting for other people to set their boundaries, around her rather than her stepping into her lion heart, which we had been talking about at the beginning, and really setting those boundaries. So this was a huge thing for my client to discover that she's doing this in her normal life outside of the horses. And the whole time we were having this conversation, Twister was still standing back in the center of the pen. And then all of a sudden, when she had this lit up with this revelation, he came forward to the gate and stood there and stuck his nose through the fence, and as if to tell her, yes, you finally got it, and I am still here to help you. I've got your back. Set those boundaries and step into your own lion heart and who you are. Now, there were a lot of other things that went on during this session, but this was one of the most profound ones, and it was the one that I wanted to share with you today. If you want to have your own personal interaction with the horse coaches, I am taking on a handful of private clients. I do have one scholarship position open, and so if you're interested in that private coaching or in applying for that scholarship opening, please send me an email at Tracy, Tracy at secoaching.net, and let's get you started and get you on the schedule. I am also have my monthly workshops. They are standalone workshops, so it's not that you do them all summer long. They are a weekend each month, starting May through October. So if you're interested in that, again, shoot me an email. I'll send you the registration links to that. You can take a look at them and see what weekend works best for you. And it is an intense, deep dive into where you want to go and how do you get ready to be ready for whatever it is that you want to do in your life. So again, reach out, send me that email, give me the comments, interact. Make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. The website is currently in process of being revamped, and there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff on the website, free stuff for you to check in on and use it and incorporate it in your life as it fits. But until next week, have a fantastic life. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.